Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be working on that junkyard rear end we picked up for the Valiant. Okay, so as you can see, I'm in the backyard and I have the rear end sitting here. This is the one we got at Pick and Pull. I believe it was from a 99 Dodge Ram. It's a 9 1/4, and what we're going to end up doing is shortening this to be able to fit it in the Valiant. So first things first, I want to strip all the brake lines off and take the sensors off and stuff like that. But then here I've got my 4-inch grinder, and I'm going to be cutting these welds off so I can take the leaf spring perch off and the shock mount there. And the reason I'm doing that is because on the Valiant, obviously the perch is going to be in a different place. It's going to be sprung under, and the mounts for the shocks are underneath the springs on the Valiants, so or on the A bodies. Alright, so I'm gonna get to work on grinding all this stuff off. It's really hot, so I found me a shade tree. The reason I'm doing it in the backyard is because I don't want any sparks flying on the trucks and cars up front. So nice safe place to work, and slightly cooler than being right in the sun. Okay, went ahead and got the brake lines off, e-brake lines off, and I cut my first perch off here, and just got to be careful not to cut into the tube, so I'm just being real careful on that. Then we'll smooth that out later. Alright, to the next one. Okay guys, I got this thing wheeled around on my dolly. I have it up on jack stands now, so as you can see, got all my stuff ground off, and next up what I'm going to do is go ahead and take the chunk out of it, take the axles out, and probably go ahead and take the brake drums off, or the brake backing plates off. I don't need any of that stuff. That's going to also make it lighter for me to put it in the truck, so I can take it to my cousin Adam's house and we're going to narrow it there. Then after that, go ahead and pull the 7 1/4 out of the car and do some measuring. I think I'm going to take the wheels and tires off the Dakota and slide up underneath it, because I'm going to run a 275/60 on an 8-inch wheel, and I need to measure for back spacing, make sure we get this thing narrowed to the proper length. I think what we're going to end up with is 1 inch shorter on each side from factory, and I believe factory is 52 and a half, something like that. So we'll be around 50 to 50 and a half total width when we get done, I believe. So let's get to work on this thing, get her stripped, and then we move on to the car. Okay guys, so I got the cover off, and as you can see, Pick and Pull puts a hole in the cover so that the fluid drains out, so there's no fluid out in the yard. But what that did was allow a lot of dirt to get in there. Now I'm going to be replacing this with a posi, but those gears I'm planning on reusing. They should be fine. It looks like just some dust got in there, and it's going to come clean real easy. But other than that, we're going to go ahead and pull our little pin here, pull our gears out, and then pull the axles out, and then we can pull out our main chunk there. We'll be good. Okay, so the pin that holds, our screw that holds our pin in just broke off. So I gotta figure that out now. There you can see I knocked it straight through the housing. There's our broke off piece. But now I got to get it the rest of the way out. I wonder why that broke though. Anyway, there's our broke off piece, and I just got to get it the rest of the way out. Okay, so on your Mopars, instead of having shims to center your section here, what you have are these rings that screw in. And you're supposed to have a tool shaped like that you can reach all the way from the end of the housing. But just for purposes of getting it out, you can reach through this little hole and spin it. That way your center section comes out there, your chunk comes out. Otherwise it's like wedged in there. As you can see, there's some rust in there and some other stuff, so this thing's gonna have to be really cleaned well. But that's gonna be it for that. I'm gonna leave the pinion in it. I think we're gonna be able to clean it up nicely and not have to worry about the pinion. So I think that's gonna be fine. I'm gonna reuse those gears, 355 gears, on a Sure Track out of a stock rear end that I've had for a few years. So other than that, like I told you in the last video with the rear end where we picked it up, I'm going to be putting Dana 60 end caps on it. So we're going to cut it and then weld on the new ends. That way we can run any kind of brake that's compatible with the Dana 60. There's the bare housing ready to go to Pensacola so we can narrow it. And as you can see here, I have jack stands on car dollies, so I need to take that off. It actually worked, but they needed to be welded to the dolly there. But since I'm going to jack up the back end and put it on jack stands, I want to make sure the front is safe. So we're going to undo that, do it properly, just on jack stands. Put the big jacks back here and go ahead and get this rear end out. Probably just drop the rear of the leaf spring, hopefully, and then cut the U-bolts, and that thing should be coming out. Alright, so the only thing we can hold this on here is the 2 U-bolts on each side, the shocks on each side, and the e-brake cable. Okay, so I took the shocks loose and I checked the prices of these e-brake cables, and these things are so old they need to be replaced anyways. They're really cheap, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my U-bolts and my e-brake cables either with a Sawzall or a cutoff wheel, and we're just going to get this thing out of here. I don't need any of that stuff. This tubing is too small on here. These U-bolts are no good, so we're just going to cut it out. Alright, so got the old rear end out, and because it's so lightweight, I didn't even drop the springs out. I just flipped it over it as you saw, and this is why we're changing it. 7 1/4, cheap, flimsy, whatever. Good for a slant 6 car, stock, but we're gonna beef it up, go to that 9 1/4. And as you can see, it's definitely narrower, but we're gonna go more narrow than that. So put some meat up under there. Next up, I'm gonna go to David's house and get some jack stands because all 4 of mine are under the car. I'm gonna jack up the blue truck, take 2 wheels and tires off and stuff them up under here. See what we have, maybe do some measurements. That way we get the proper width on our rear end. So I'll bring y'all back whenever I get back from David's. Okay guys, so I'm about to start cleaning up, but I wanted to show you something real quick. I took the wheels and tires off the blue truck, and that's a 8-inch rim with a 275/60. Just to get an idea, we'll get that real quick. Anyway, compressor cut on me. So anyway, these are 275/60s on an 8-inch wheel. The back spacing is going to be different than the wheels that I put on here. But as you can see, the leaf spring is super tight. So I was already planning on moving the springs inboard and replacing the springs. So they're going to be moved in. I think the kit is 3-inch move to the inside. And then up in the wheel well, I'm going to fold that just a little bit, which I don't think is going to be necessary because I'm going to move the tire in further than this. It'll probably be more like that. And it's got plenty of clearance back there. Okay guys, more progress on the Valiant today. Going to be taking that rear end to Pensacola, I think June 30th. So we'll be working on that and keep picking away at this thing as we can. Hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you next time.